And I'm not attempting to condemn all the rich, but rather explain to you the shift, or rather switch, between their neighborhood and the one that I went to school in. There's a sound in the streets, and it sounds like missing education begging for a handout. Wisdom neglected, crying in the public library with a shortage of people to console her. And my people walking around in white tees, 5 sizes too large for them, saying, nigga, please. Well, I'm begging my brothers who call themselves niggas not to be niggas.
Come on!
Please.
Come on.
There's a scene in the streets, and it looks like a tragedy. My kin is doing magic tricks, rolling up their homegrown potential and the physical manifestation of wisdom. They're blowing ethereal rings of their future and laughing as it dissolves along with their net worth. It's painful to be even aware of this, and they wonder why I don't like going out. If I don't have to, I keep trying to pay attention in class, and college is giving me more knowledge. Sometimes I struggle to pass because I know more than I know what to do with as it is, but to whom much is given, much is required. You know the rest, but there's a tragedy in the streets, and it sounds like a crime. Someone is leading children from being measured in door jams to being jammed up in doorways and laid out in concrete to be measured. Am I the only one who sees a problem with using chalk to chronicle our young black treasure, laid out in the proof that society has failed in their kin they're calling convicts, and yet telling them to get a job? The cons don't get hard. It's just, I'm sorry, brother, man, life is hard. So there's a tragedy in the streets, and it sounds like what they call silencers, but I call it March 1st, because they laid both Dr. King and Medgar Evers in the soft dirt, and so they wouldn't have to hear the king's dream a millionth man more, because if we find peace, we might ask why we still got poor. No, they'd rather make peace with 45, but they call you the criminal. And no, it's overt, brother. It ain't even subliminal. It's beanbags and shotguns and politicians in somebody's hip pocket. The government saying, don't whoop your children as they reach for your wallet. And there's a scene in the streets, and it sounds like a tragedy. And I've learned the meaning of irony. Irony is children being too free to ever be free because they're allowed to do whatever they want, so they chain themselves to their peers. And equally drown in bad credit and bad choices, as though it were too much of a bother to drag them to the Atlantic Ocean to do the job properly. There's a scene in the streets, and our irony is children, or rather parents, trying to be the child's friend, never understanding the disservice that they have rendered, and these befriended children grow up without the necessary tools, so they are instead doomed to pick the same processed cotton as their parents from Gabriel Brothers and Foot Locker. This friendship is looking like a slave ship, and suddenly I understand the reason why it was called Amistad. There's a tragedy in the streets where y'all are so busy being free that you fail to notice that we began enslaving ourselves, separated by choice, to a ghetto originally used to designate the inferior races. While we claim superiority, it makes no sense. The blue wardens are riding up in segregation-colored cars, just in case you should happen to forget, fearing the inmates who were taught to fear them. The yard is mighty large and the fence is invisible, but that doesn't make it much of a difference, brother. Just because a sign doesn't say Auschwitz doesn't mean that you don't need to concentrate and contemplate. Because the wardens are the firing squad. And sagging pants and threatening stance are the new mark for death, like the golden star of David sewn on the coat sleeves and shirt breast. The immortality of youth has never protected a single chest. So we need to stop encouraging one another to wear fanciful shackles, to be fresh to the last breath that might not be so far away. Jive dancing down the paved road painted gold for $3.25. This is the road leading to existential doom. If thinking makes the man, so if I think and therefore I am, then why does your hood existence precede your essence's lifespan? You need to think, brother. Claim that you're just keeping it real. At least the Jews are just trying to get clean, so please explain why my brothers think nothing of riding dirty. There's a tragedy in the streets, and it sounds like children getting rich, selling an empty dream to children who hope to one day perpetuate the cycle. If they only learn to manage money, they might not ever have to work for it again, but they're taught to imitate money before they can afford it.
Come on.
And they throw it all away before they get it. Forever trapped in the cycle, they will work until they die. These highly paid overseers praise for glorifying a life without glory. Oppression and suppression work so much better when perpetuated from within. You see, they learned that from seeking to program rebellious slaves to behave. So they're slowly lynching expectations with the weight of the chains that weigh more than the weight that we place on decisions we make every day. So tell me now, brother, who's free? There's a tragedy in the streets, and it sounds like they're teaching girls to spread their legs all the way to the bank. They're playing sexual roulette. You better hope those boys are shooting blanks. Just by keeping the agenda off of facts, you're helping to break in the beautiful black backs of those that were taught to stand tall, as though Whitney did not have the voice of an angel until the devil caught hold of her lungs and told her to exhale his poison. These rappers are saying words that do not belong among the free. So half the time when I hear them, what it sounds like to me is, should we happen to have a difference in opinion, I'd be more than happy to cock back my lack of personal conviction, put it to the right side of what you believe is right, and expose your view to the world. There's a tragedy in the streets, and it sounds like silence. midst of tragedy. I cannot hope to change the world by myself, but I can provide some knowledge and hope that you will listen and follow not the man, but the God inside of the man. So if you're asking me what you should do, I cannot tell you for sure. All I can say is this. Since God called me as his son to do greater works than these, I seek to improve in his masterpiece just about every time that I draw a breath, brother. Please.
Awesome. Come on!